Welcome to the SwimSwam podcast. I'm your host, Coleman Hodges, and I've got a very special guest joining me today. She is a 20-time All-American from the University of Florida, part of the first ever 1-2-3 All-African-American finish in a single event at an NCAA swimming championship, SEC Freshman of the Year, Olympic Trials qualifier, 3-time Florida team captain, ISL Cali Condors team member for the second year in a row now, Natalie Hinds. Natalie, what's up?
Hey, Coleman, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing fine. I have the rest of the day off, so I'm just chilling.
Yeah, so let's start with the big news today. ISL just, did their whole big spiel. Everyone knows about everything now. You're back on the Cali Condors. What does today mean to you?
We've been waiting for a long time to be able to say it to the masses, but I am really excited, especially obviously with everything that's been going on this year. It's really nice to have something to look forward to. I think being on the same team also gives me just even more confidence because I know the coaches, I know Jason, he's an amazing GM, and I also know all my teammates, and it's nice to have some Georgia teammates along with me as well.
For sure. Who are I know Greg, is Troy still the head coach?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who the other coaches are?
So it's Dean Boxall. He's the coach of Ariane and Mitch. Mm-hmm. There's a new guy. I haven't met him yet. And Sean Schemmel, our coach at UGA.
Okay, nice.
So it'll be a very familiar group of people.
Perfect. Let's dive into ISL a little bit. Tell me about your experience last year and what that was like getting to be a part of the inaugural season. I think it kind of blew everyone's mind, at least from a spectator standpoint. Of you go to that first event and it's there's lights, there's cameras, there's action. It was pretty wild. What was it like as an athlete?
It was the most fun meet I've ever been to, besides SECs, because I love SECs, but it was like a concert where you also swam. Like there's just lights everywhere. Everyone was just having such a good time because everyone just didn't know what was going on. Because even the night before, the first day, they changed some of the rules. So that shows you how just like crazy everything was. But it worked out for the best. By the time we had our second meet, like by the time we were in Italy, we kind of had like a grasp on how things were. And I think the best part of ISL, and I think a lot of people will agree, is you get to just meet people that you would never meet because you're all in this group and you're surrounded by amazing swimmers and amazing people that are from across the world. Like I said, that you would never meet had you not done ISL. And I've never been to Italy before because I've never been anywhere outside of America before. But being able to go to Italy was just such an eye-opening experience in a lot of ways for me, not just swimming. So to be part of that first group who got to just experience that and kind of be the guinea pigs was really cool, but it also kind of like helped you mentally prepare for the unknown because, like I said, they would change things like all the time.
Yeah, that was your first time out of the country?
Well, kind of. I went to France for Mare Nostrums like earlier that summer or in the summer. Okay. So I had been seasoned a little bit, but I knew what to expect for a 9-hour plane ride that I didn't know what to expect when I went to France. But those are the two places that I've only been to outside of America, obviously besides Mexico and Canada, but I don't really think those count. And I blew up my miles for Delta, so I finally made it to the next silver medallion status. So that was probably the best part.
Nice. Well, seriously, that's awesome. But in Italy or in France, I mean, did you notice any significant changes for racing abroad or adjustments you had to make?
Well, I guess both meets were different than a normal meet. So you have ISL in Italy and you have Mare Nostrum in France. And so Mare Nostrum's format is different than a normal swim meet format in terms of just how quickly they ran the race and the way that you had to walk out and things like that. So trying to compare them to a normal swim meet that I would swim in the States is kind of like apples to oranges. But I think the biggest difference was everything was so formal. So ISL was always finals, which I love. There was no prelims. For Mare Nostrums, there were prelims and finals, but they walked you out for each session as if it was finals. So I love finals. So being able to walk out in prelims like that, I was like so hyped and ready to go. I think that's also why I swam so good there. But it was kind of hard to navigate when no one spoke English. And when they said, take your mark in another language, you just kind of like pick up on those things. And when they line you up, they're like screaming French at you. So I think it's just about observing your surroundings and then planning accordingly. But I loved it. I thought it was cool. The first day I was very confused, but then I caught on. And looking back, I think it was so fun.
Nice. Sorry, the visual of officials screaming French at someone.
Well, not like screaming at me, but just like trying
bones.
to make their voices be heard. And I'm just like, what is 3 in French? And I'm like trying to go back to my elementary school days. I'm like, I cannot remember any of this to save my life right now.
Right. Well, that's sounds like very cool experiences. And hey, for all the listeners out there, these are some of the places that swimming can take you.
Yeah, they can take you abroad. And I look back and I'm like, wow, I'm so glad I came back to swimming because I got to go and do something that I love to do and just experience. I mean, Italy, we were only there for like 8 days, but I feel like I was there forever and I learned so much in such a short period of time. It was crazy. I was really, really glad to come back to America and have Chick-fil-A as my first meal, but I learned so much just about other people and that, not that I didn't think this before. I don't think that I'm sheltered, but like there's so much else going on in the world than what you see in front of you and what you do on a day-to-day basis. So kind of just put things in perspective for me that I do still think about now.
Yeah. I think I remember my first time out of the country and it was, I don't know if culture shock is the right word, but it's just very eye-opening. Yeah. Like
that's a good word.
You get a lot of perspective on what other people are doing around the world. I went on I was on the next leg of the ISL matches. So I spent that week in Budapest.
Oh, you're with Group B.
I was with Group B and yeah, it's a long 8 days and it's good and bad, but you spend a lot of time with the teams. Yeah. You really got to know some of them and it was very cool. But yeah, those 8 days are pretty action packed.
Yeah,
definitely. So you mentioned you're grateful that you came back to the sport, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. But you've been in swimming for so long now. Let's take it all the way back. Tell me about your swimming roots. How did you get into the sport?
So if we want to think way back, no, I'm just kidding. But I started swimming when I was 4. I think that was when I was on my first team. And my mom loves the water, so she would always be with us. Before I was on a team, we'd be in the backyard swimming, and she'd be in there swimming with us. I have a sister who is 5 years older than I am, and so I wanted to be just like her, and I wanted to do everything that she was doing. And so she was swimming, but Lauren and I are very different in terms of she's very, very academically smart. And I wouldn't say I'm not smart, but I'm just more of the athletic one. So once I caught wind in swimming, it was just like that was my thing. I no longer really was like, I want to be like Lauren. But it was nice to have her in the sport until she was in high school. And then she decided she didn't want to swim in college. But it was nice to grow up with her in the sport. but yeah, I swam at City of Midland Aquatics is what it's called, in my small hometown of like 100,000 people. Now it's a lot bigger, but when I was growing up, it was a very small town. And yeah, I swam there till I was 18, and it was a very, like I said, a very small team. And I was, really blessed that I was a really good swimmer. I had good talent, and I was kind of a big fish in a small pond. So I did a lot of traveling to Dallas and to Austin and to Houston. And my coach, my club coach, his name's Andy Corda. He and I were very close because when we would go travel, it would just be me and my dad. So it was me, my dad, and my coach just like trotting around Texas, just going to meets, just because I was trying to move up in the ranks and stuff. So yeah, I mean, club swimming, I haven't been back, obviously, because there's just been so much going on in my life. But it is really just a crazy place because they have like 6 pools there, and it's just this amazing facility that has everything you could think of, and you just wouldn't think that it's in a small town.
In Midland?
Yeah, in the middle of West Texas. It's crazy.
Wow.
They have so many pools. So I am grateful. I wish I could get back there, but I was actually going to go in there in April, but we all know what happened, so I couldn't go back. So maybe like at the end of this year or next year sometime.
Yeah. Was high school a big part of your swimming experience? Did you even swim high school?
Yeah, I did, but it just, some high schools in America, like high school swimming is it, but not for me. I just had a really unique high school experience because, like I said, I was a big fish in a small pond. So when I made my trials cut in honestly, I think it was like 20, I was 16 years old. So I still had 2 years to go till trials. But I swam high school, but then I decided that I wanted to graduate high school early because I just spoke with my counselor and I was like, well, I mean, if I can get more credits in going into Florida, then that would be better for me, just because balancing school and swimming is just a very hard thing for me. And so I wanted to go in ahead. So I graduated early. So I didn't even swim my senior year of high school swimming. I swam just freshman, sophomore in my junior year.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing the high school team was not expansive.
No, it was just, it was just a lot of people who, that was their second period. So, I mean, they loved it and they had a great time. There's some cool people in there, but for me, it was just like, if it was bigger, I would have done it, but it just was kind of, at that point in time, was just an extra practice or just like time I could have spent studying or getting through school or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So your senior year of high school, you didn't go to Florida. You just
No. I didn't go to school. I didn't go to college early. I just basically graduated in December of my senior year of high school, and so then that spring semester I just trained, and then I actually did go to college at a community college called Midland College, and I did calculus and English, and it was so terrible. I was like, why did I think I wanted to go to college right now? But I mean, it was for the best. Like it really did pay off.
Smart.
Yeah, it paid off, but it kind of forced me to grow up a little bit, and like I kind of got to see what college was like. So that part was really good. But yeah, when I went to graduate, I was like, I don't know who any of these people are, because I had been out of school for like 6 months, like out of high school. So when I came to walk for graduation, everybody was like, where have you been? I was like, yeah, I couldn't tell you. It was kind of awkward, to be honest.
Wow. I mean, anyone who has gone through a freshman year of college knows that English and math are like the 2 most gen ed, basic, boring classes you can take. And to get him out of the way to community college sounds like a great decision.
Yeah, I mean, it also was because my mom was a professor at the time at Midland College, and so like, as you know, a community college is small, so her office happened to be like across the hall from my calculus classroom, so I couldn't be late. She and the professor I had, they were like real tight, and I'm not good at math. Like, I am horrible at math. I had a tutor all throughout college, and I obviously was struggling, and I just like couldn't, there was no leeway for me because she literally was right across the hall, so I couldn't go anywhere, or she knew everything that was going on, so that also really helped me in just like focusing and like trying to get through this class. But it was all for the better. That's what I tell myself.
That seems, yeah, overall positive, but yeah, at the time it sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
Did you just like not keep up with your high school friends for that 6-month period?
No, to be honest, I'm like a lone wolf. I mean, I'm very social, bold, very outgoing, but I'll tell you this, like, you know, those 4 minutes in between classes that you switch where you can go talk to your friends?
Yeah.
I did not belong to one single group. There wasn't like a group that I went to go find in between classes. I kind of just like ping ponged around and went to class. But I mean, I was like really well known because I was a good swimmer and in a very unique position. But no, I mean, I have one friend from high school who's like my best friend who I keep up with, obviously, but that's it.
Okay.
And I think I get it from my dad. He's a lone wolf as well. So I have that tendency to do that. But yeah, I didn't keep up with, with anyone. Just because swimming was so big for me at that time, I was like, forget everybody. Yeah. It was fine though.
And I totally relate to well, I didn't have it, but I think a lot of swimmers can relate to the tunnel vision of swimming, especially when you are that age, and it just kind of does become your identity and you want to do it all the time. And you know, I wasn't academically inclined either, so it was like, dude, I'd much rather swim than like school.
I'm waiting for the bell to ring so I can leave.
Exactly. So you say you're a lone wolf, but you were a 3-time captain at the University of Florida. You were leading the team for like more years than many swimmers swim on a team. What you get to Florida after your high school experience, and what was it like stepping on campus that first season once you get to Gainesville?
Hard, very hard. It was like some of the hardest workouts of my whole entire life, and I wanted to go home so bad. And my mom was like, why would you come home? And I was like, Mom, that's not what you're supposed to say to me right now. I'm struggling. But I mean, every day was something new that was challenging for me. And like I said, being a big fish in a small pond, I didn't think I had it figured all out, but I definitely didn't know there was that much more out there. I mean, I had no aerobic base. I realized I was operating off of pure talent and technique. And even the technique that I had was even improved more when I went to Florida. So it was a lot of mental challenges for me. Like, I was last at everything. I mean, everything. I was last. And my dad told me when I went to college, he goes, Nat, do not be the caboose. You can be second to caboose, but try not to be the last person. And boy, did I fail. Like, the first 2 months. I'm just like not a dryland person. We had stadiums, we were running, you know, like all of the stuff that every team does at the beginning of the season. It was so hard for me, but without knowing it, it really prepared me for the end of the season. I mean, I think about my freshman year and how much better I did than I thought. I mean, the things that happened at the end of the season weren't even in my realm of thinking when I was, you know, going through the season and stuff like that. I literally was just swimming. I was struggling through practice, and I would like be there at the meets and I'd be racing tough. And I remember in October we were racing UGA, which is like crazy now that I think about it because I'm here now. And I was going best times in the middle of October because it just was so much stuff that I hadn't done and so much hard training that it just improved me just like that. And so, it was really hard. I learned a lot of things that I think I pull from now. But But yeah, I think back to that and I'm like, if I got through that, I honestly can get through anything, because there were so many times I was like, I physically cannot go any further. And I did. I went like miles further than I thought I could. So it was just every day breaking the barrier that I had put on myself.
Wow. Sorry if I'm laughing so much. You just
No, I'll laugh
really...
with you, because I could tell you some crazy stories where I'm like lost on a run because I'm so far behind, or running in the middle of a rainstorm and I have no idea where I'm running to. So it's just like some crazy stuff, but they all do have a lesson to be learned for sure.
Do you, you talked about how much of a lone wolf you were in high school. Do you feel like you got some community on that college team? I mean, you just said, like, oh, I was the caboose, I was last. I got lost running by myself. Like, but did like your fellow freshmen, were they kind of struggling with you? Were you able to relate and kind of get that help and support from your teammates?
Oh yeah, of course. Like some freshmen were just like so good at dry land, but everybody struggled in something. So there was always someone to help, or always someone to help me or help you in an instance. But yeah, I mean, we were really close freshman year. All of the freshmen that came, there was a big group of us. It was something crazy, like 15 of us or something like that. So, and we were all very close.
Mm-hmm.
So that helped a lot. I think in terms of being a lone wolf, I can be extroverted when I need to. But as I've gotten older, I've learned that I am somewhat of an introvert when I need to replenish my social juices, I guess is the only way I know how to describe it. But yeah, me in college, even though I struggled physically with the workouts and stuff, I mean, I'm always outspoken. I always love to meet new people, not necessarily like, I mean, yeah, I'm alone. I could be considered a lone wolf, but I love meeting new people and hearing what they have to say about certain things, just like new perspectives on the same thing that you've thought about. So I think that helped me in the long run, because Troy would have captains and they would have class captains. And so obviously a freshman cannot be the captain of the team. So he would have freshman captains. Mm-hmm. And so we got to basically practice. And so it was a voting system. So I got voted freshman captain. So that year I was exposed to like what all the other captains did and what meetings they were having, and they came with free food. So I was really excited about that. So we would meet and basically we would go through everything you would go through if you were a captain as a freshman. So that also helped prepare me for the next year when I would become the regular team captain. But yeah, I learned so much in those roles. Like, I think that's also why I learned that I need to have my own time, because it's a lot to like worry about everyone and make sure everyone's on point, and then to also make sure you also are on point. So yeah, freshman year, I can't tell you how much I learned. Like, I didn't keep a journal. I mean, I like took pictures, which I guess is a form of a journal, but I wish I would have written down like what happened during the day and looked back and been like, wow, I can't believe I got through all that.
It sounds book worthy. Yeah.
If I can remember it all. Yeah.
Wow. So you were a 4-year captain. That's basically it.
Yeah, pretty much.
You strapped the Florida team to your back from the day you got on campus. So, so sophomore year, you were voted a regular team captain, and you had mentioned earlier that you learned a lot through that experience.
Yeah.
If you can, take me through that. What was good about that? What was challenging about that? And what did you come away with from that, from leading the team as a sophomore?
So being a captain was, I mean, to be honest, when I was voted captain, I was very skeptical, because who's going to listen to a sophomore, to be honest with you? Because I know I wouldn't if I was a senior. And so it was kind of an eye-opener for me that I need to get to know, not that I didn't already know the seniors and the juniors, but I need to like put myself out there, I guess, and just show that like, hey, if you need me, like, I'm here for you. I also learned I know we're talking about sophomore year, but that kind of started then, but it came to head in my junior years. I learned how to delegate.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a very territorial person with anything. And so when it comes to being a captain, like, to me, I'm like, I need to protect that because I earned it. So I need to be the one who does this, 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 and this, when that's not necessarily how a leader or a captain should, run the team. So I learned a lot about like what my duties actually are. And so I learned to trust my teammates and be able to delegate things that they're good at that I'm not necessarily good at. Like, for instance, the quieter people who are more in tune with people's feelings, like they wanted to do stuff for people's birthdays. I can't remember everybody's birthday, so like that's something that they could do to make each teammate feel like it's their day, and so that really does a lot for your confidence, So that's just an example, but yeah, I learned a lot about that. I also learned a lot about what's the word I'm looking for, like I guess diffusing certain situations, being able to work through disagreements. Between you and a coach, between two teammates, between you and a teammate. Also discipline. Like, it's really not easy as a sophomore to discipline a senior. Like, that is really, really uncomfortable. And so I had to learn how to have the confidence to like back up what I say, which wasn't not always easy. But I learned that it's not about the person, it's about the team. And so I also learned not to take things personal. So those are a couple of the things that I learned that I think helped me become a better person. It helped me become more confident in what I think and what I say. Because I hear a lot of times, which I really love to hear, like people are like, wow, you're so confident in how you speak. And honestly, I think it's because of college, because I had to be, or else people call your bluff in no time at all. So those are just a couple of the things that I've learned that I think really have helped me be the person that I am now.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a really great experience, and it sounds like you learned a lot. Look, you said when that had first happened your sophomore year, you were skeptical. Looking back now, what would you say, or what did you think your teammates saw in you that led them to vote you as a team captain?
Probably confidence. I would say that I'm very just like bold in my actions. Like, I'm never really unsure of what I'm doing. I like to do trial and error instead of hesitation, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I did was just, I would do it, see how it worked. And if it didn't work, then I would try something else. And so I think also I'm really funny and people love funny people. So I also think I lighten the mood, and I think that helps for, 18 to 22-year-old women who are literally going through life-changing years of their life. I think if they can laugh and have a great time in the midst of social, swimming, pressure, school, all that stuff, it's really important to just like let loose. And I always was like goofing off at something, whether it be in the locker room or like doing invitations on deck or something like that. Like, I always was just funny or like doing something. So I think they really appreciated that too. And I'm trying to think what possibly else.
I certainly appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I think I think they also just appreciated that it's important to learn about people. And I learned this growing up. I know this is like so terrible to say, but I used to not even want to like be around people who were shy, who like didn't want to be with the crowd or anything. And it used to just boggle my mind, like, how are you shy? Like, because to me, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to say what I'm going to say and it doesn't matter. But until I grew up and went to college, I learned that like everybody's just so different. So those people that are not that loud, it's important to include them, because like it's harder for them to, feel like they are included. So I think that's also another reason, just because I took the time to learn about other people and hang out and ask questions and just like bring them into the group, because nobody wants to be by themselves. That sucks.
So you have empathy.
Yeah, I am still working on that too, but that's another eye opener that I think is another reason why they thought that I would be a good leader.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think too, I think there's lots of people who still don't have that kind of perspective, but to learn that, you know, as an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid, that sounds pretty cool. And it seems like that would make, you know, you a pretty good leader of the team, which is
I
super
hope
cool.
I hope they think I did a good job.
Well, if nothing else, you made them laugh, right?
Yeah, honestly.
So let's give me, I want to hear about a few of your actual swimming highlights from college. You know, you said SECs is your favorite meet. Do you have one or two favorite memories from SECs or just from swimming in general that really stick out in your mind?
Yeah, so well, I don't really have like a one favorite, but the first one that comes to mind is my freshman year, 100 fly when I won, just because I think it was just a good situation. Like, it was in Texas. I was so homesick. I hadn't seen my parents since I had seen them, but I hadn't been home since I left from August.
Oh, really? You didn't go
Yeah,
home for
because it
Christmas?
is going from Gainesville to Midland is like 3 flights, which is it's like a whole day's worth.
Oh,
So
God.
like you can't not swim practice. So I never got a chance to go home. But my parents were there, and it was so nice to just win at such a big stage in front of them,
Yeah.
and like just being able to see my hard work pay off. I mean, like I said earlier, I was struggling almost every day in the fall and didn't think I was going to get through Christmas training. Like, that was just a whole nother experience for me. So to be able to just pop off at SECs was, one, very surprising, and two, just such a great feeling of accomplishment that I feel like a lot of swimmers at that level don't have. Like one whole meet where you're like, I did that. That's how I felt. And so just to be a freshman and to just make such a statement was so cool. Another great memory, I would say, on the flip side of that, was my senior year 100 freestyle, when in Missouri, because on the other end of the spectrum, I was struggling. I mean, my swims were not good. Mentally, I was not good. Nutritionally, I was not good. And I had won the year before, and I was like peaking at my junior year. And so senior year, things were just not going my way. And I was so nervous. I mean, shaking. I was like, somebody talk to me, trying to get my mind off of this race. But I mean, winning that was just a sigh of relief for me that I could get through it and I could do it. So that's another memory that I will always keep with me. And then obviously my third place finish my junior year with Simone and Leah at NCAAs, because now that I'm 26 and I look back, I think it is just so cool that we were able to do that, because I mean, if you look at the history of Black people in swimming, we shouldn't be up there. Like, we shouldn't even be at the meet, because they just didn't let Black people swim. And the stereotype is just so embedded in our society that even Black people are like, why do you swim? And I'm like, you can't think like that anymore. So to be able to do that and just be in the history books is super cool, because it now will inspire a whole new generation. And it really kind of kickstarted my platform that I have now to be able to inspire whoever wants to listen and be inspired by me. But it gave me a lot of perspective, especially as the years went on, and especially when I stopped swimming and was able to just kind of like take a breather from the sport and look back. I think that was such a cool race. And it's a shame it wasn't the last race, because I know that on that podium I was thinking about the 4 free relay and not necessarily like the present moment. So I do wish that I was more present in that moment. But I mean, there's pictures and everybody else remembers it, so we could talk about it, and the moment's not lost.
Yeah, definitely. I that was the first women's NCAAs I ever covered for SwimSwam.
Oh.
And I remember being there in Greensboro,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean that was a super cool moment. I don't think anyone I don't know if anyone, certainly no one expected it.
Yeah.
And then it happened, and everyone was kind of like, whoa, hold on, like this is.
Yeah, I don't even remember what people's reactions of it were, to be honest with you. I was so, like, when you're in meet mode, you're just like, you're not thinking about anything else. But yeah, I mean, I barely got third, let's be honest. I think I got third by like 0.04 or something like that. So I'm very, very grateful to make that trio. But yeah, it definitely needs to be remembered on the day every year because it is such a big deal. And it won't be done in such a long time from now, in my opinion. I mean, not downputting anybody who's coming up, but it's just all the stars really had to be aligned for that to happen. But yeah, I think it's really good that that was your first NCAA. It was a very historic one. So.
And like you said, it might not happen for a long time, but the fact that it did, the fact that you three showed that it could, it's like, I think a lot of people emphasize the fact that, if you need to be able to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
And, you need role models, and the fact that you three did that and provided that for, an up and coming generation to say that, hey, we're here and we can swim really fast.
Yeah, like we can do it and it can be done again for sure.
Yeah. I would like to go back to your 100 free your senior year, because you said that it was like a sigh of relief to finish that 100 free race, but you won it, right?
Yeah.
You're like super nervous. You're worried. You're not in a good place. And then I don't know, is that like a little more than a sigh of relief that I was thinking like you're going to say, and I got through the race and I got like 6th or something.
No. I mean, my standards for myself are very high. So, I mean, I wanted to win it and I knew I could.
Gotcha.
But I was just like really outside of my mind, worrying about other people, this girl, that girl, and not like myself, just because of all the reasons that I had listed before. But yeah, I mean, I've seen the race back, and you can tell, like when I finish and look at the clock, I'm like, mercy. I'm like, I was so tired. Honestly, that meet was, again, such a lesson learner for me. Our team was not doing well at all, and it was the last day, and I felt the pressure to do well. I was like, okay, if I don't do well, then who's going to do, how are we going to make this a successful meet? So that was kind of like my sigh of relief. I had just been carrying so much pressure that I put on myself to like lead this team and show a good example for the girls. And that's something I've learned that I don't necessarily need to do. And that's also why I'm very glad that I am swimming what I'm doing now, where I don't really have to carry a team, or I don't have to worry about teammates like that in that type of situation anymore. But that's not to say I loved college swimming. Like I had never really had those close of teammates in club. So to go to college and experience that and just hear people screaming for you, that was so cool. But that also comes with pressure, worry, things like that. So that's kind of like what I was feeling in those moments leading up to that race. I was glad to get that over with.
Makes total sense. That's again, being a 3-year captain on the team, really, being a leader, you do carry the weight of your teammates, and I'm sure that year, that senior year, especially if like you said, the team isn't having a good performance, that can weigh on you.
For sure.
And so you get through that senior season, and then you go to Olympic trials. Did you think that would be your last swim meet, period?
No, not really, but I just knew I wanted nothing to do with the sport for a while. It was just like probably on record my worst meet of my career, besides 2015, the year before, in San Antonio. So I mean, I knew I wasn't going to swim well, which was really sad to say. Just like I wasn't prepared. I was swimming off hope, and I was just counting down the days till I could go home. And so it's kind of hard, like, to be at that prime age to go and swim. If you swam to the best of your abilities, you most likely would have made the team. And so it's really disappointing to literally, like, be here presently and just, like, see everybody, like, making the team who you literally have beat no more than 2 months ago. So it was very disappointing, to say the least. And I wouldn't say I was depressed or anything. I just was ready to go home, and I still had a semester of school left. So I went home for the summer, and it was the best 3 months of my life, just because I didn't have to worry about anything. No nutrition, no working out, I didn't have to worry about where my mental focus was, anything like that. So that was, I guess, the upside, that I kind of got my juices rejuvenated. But I just didn't even know when I would go back to swimming. I thought I was ready to, like, this is what's going to happen. Like, you move on to the next chapter of your life, you get a job and things like that. But yeah, I just felt like I guess I needed to swim again. But I really thought I was going to only take like 6 months to a year off, but it turned into 2 years. I just kind of like blinked, and it had been so long. And I was like, well, it's either now or never. Because, I mean, I guess we're getting into a new topic, but yeah, I just like started to increasingly get anxiety for no reason. I couldn't figure out why. And I realized that I was like subconsciously thinking about swimming. And I was like, if I never go back, I will never know if I was ever better than I never will know if I was better than I ended up. Like, I don't want my last meet to be trials. That was terrible. And that was embarrassing. I was like, I can't do that. I have to at least see if I can get back in shape and, try again. At least, that's the least I could do for myself.
Yeah.
So then I decided to come back.
I mean, you talked about, peaking at the right time. And again, I think that's why ISL is so cool, is because I think having our sport having to peak once every 4 years is kind of bogus.
Yeah.
But
pressure filled.
Yeah, it's like, it's a lot. And like you said, to know what your best is and to know that you're not there, I think is a lot of people's experiences at Olympic trials, right? It's like there's so many people on their swan songs at that meet, and it's not necessarily their best. And dude, you go to that meet, it's a pressure cooker. You can feel the tension when you walk into the door.
Yeah. You really can.
And and then you walk out, and there's just so many emotions. It's like, it's a lot. And I think a lot of people don't swim the way they want to there, because it's so hard to perform at that meet particularly. So it's really cool to hear your motivation behind coming back of that was embarrassing. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I hadn't watched swimming, really spoken to anyone who was in the swimming world for 2 years. I literally lived a whole different life, and I loved it, and I learned new things. I learned a lot about nutrition that I implement now. And I learned a lot about my mental focus and how my brain works. And yeah, I just think that was really good for me to take the time off. And that's why now when I feel like I need to take time for myself, I do so, and I don't feel guilty, because I've seen that I can take that amount of time off and come back and swim way faster than I ever have within 10 weeks of swimming. So yeah, that's kind of what helped me get through quarantine. Like, when I wasn't swimming for like a month, I was like, nah, I'll be fine. I'm like trying to convince myself I'll be okay, because I'm like, look, Nat, you took 2 years off. You'll be totally fine.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Briefly, let's touch on that 2 years off. You said you learned a lot about nutrition. You got a job at Turner Broadcasting in Atlanta. For all I know about Turner Broadcasting is they do Cartoon Network.
Yeah. Cartoon Network is across the street, but yes.
What, so for Turner, what were you doing? What was your lifestyle like? Let's get into the details about that.
So I got an internship with Turner Broadcasting for a digital product position. So basically, I worked with March Madness. So I know you know March Madness because everybody does. So the app on your phone, I basically built it. I didn't build it, but I oversaw the developers who built it. So I came up with the features and like how the app flows and works, and then someone else built it. So I did that for Alexa, so for voice and stuff. So that internship was a year long, and I loved every single day of that internship. I thought it was so cool. I was just like learning something that I didn't know like swimming, I know. And it's always about polishing what you know. But this was all about learning every single day. I mean, Turner is a very progressive company, so I was able to just like wear whatever I wanted to. So it was nice not to have to like buy blouses and slacks that I know I'm too tall for. So that was really cool as well. But the internship was 1 year. And yeah, it was really cool just to go through this cycle of creating an app. And I love that. I think it's something that I may want to do when I'm completely done with swimming. I then took a job still with Turner with a company called BR Live. So Bleacher Report. Some people know, some people don't. But
I know Bleacher
basically
Report.
like a West Coast CNN, I would. If you really don't know anything, that's what I would compare it to. But
it's news.
Yeah. And so this company was live streaming. So all live sports. That's all we did. So no articles, nothing like that. So this app just started up. So basically I kind of did the operations for the app. So for starting an event all the way until the event ends. So creating the event, all of the back end stuff that goes into the software that creates the event and the time and people can buy it and all of the things that you think about when you go and purchase something online to watch later. That's kind of what I did. Didn't like that so much, but I learned a lot of stuff from that too. And I worked out a lot. That's something that I also did a lot. I worked out in the morning. I went to work. I came back and I worked out again just because I had extra time, and I really was just like into working out at that point. So that was kind of my life. I also coached too, and I've learned that I do not like coaching. I'm not a coach. I think I was a good coach, but that's the stuff I don't have empathy for, I guess. I love doing clinics, which is really crazy because I love doing clinics. I love helping kids. But all of the extra stuff that goes along with coaching, I just don't like that. But I mean, you find out what you like and what you don't like. And I definitely did that over those past 2 years. But yeah, my lifestyle was so much different. And I think about that. I'm like, did that actually happen? Because I'm like back in my routine where I'm swimming and I'm doing doubles and weights. And yeah, I just think back. I'm like, was that a dream? Did that actually happen? It was really cool though. And so I met some cool people, and like, yeah, finally meeting people that don't have anything to do with sports. They just enjoy it enough to work with sports is so cool. Like hearing about what other people, like people went to college and they just went to college. That's pretty cool. And they're like, wow, you swam. Like, what's that like? And I'm just like, it was fine. Too much to sit here and tell you over lunch, but it was fine.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, yeah. So you lived, the I think what a lot of college kids refer to is like the adult life. You just went out there and did it.
Yeah, I went to work. I went to happy hours for the first time. I was able to
very adult.
Learn what it's like to pay for your own bills, and that was such a wake up call. And just
that's nice.
Learning real life things. Yeah. I'm glad I did it though. I mean, like, you have to learn how to like manage your money every 2 weeks. And it's like something that I was really bad at. But yeah, it's just like the life of a college athlete does not really prepare you for when you get spat out into the real world. I used to tell my mom when I was struggling when I first moved to Atlanta, because I got the position on a Wednesday or something, and I needed to move and started on a Monday. So I like threw my bags in my car and stayed in an Airbnb for a week until I found an apartment.
Mhm.
And I was just so confused and so upset because I was like, Mom, I feel like somebody just spout me out in the middle of prime time at New York Square and gave me no directions on how to get home. I just felt like there was so much going on and I did not know what to do. I didn't know anybody. But I mean, you learn, you meet friends, you end up fine. So it was all good. I was just being dramatic as usual.
I think a lot of people go through that. Certainly,
good for you.
Certainly swimmers, and yeah, it's good for you. It's awesome to hear that you made it out okay.
Yeah.
And then you're like, no, I'm good. I'm going back to swimming.
Yeah, I learned that corporate America had its ups and it had its downs. I definitely would love to be a digital product manager if the opportunity came my way. But I think I may maybe like a smaller business or something, maybe not corporate America, because there are pros and there are cons. Just being able to see that also really helped prepare me and help me put things in perspective too. And now when I'm on my Roku or if I'm on my app on an app on my phone and I can see an issue, I'm like, well, that company may need to fix this, this, and this. So it's kind of cool that I can like understand how apps work and not just use them and get mad when they don't work. I mean, not that I can fix it or anything, but like at least I know what the problem is. So I'll wait for them to fix it.
Yeah, I mean that seems like exceedingly applicable knowledge. Did you study anything in that field in college? Cool.
I studied basically it's called communication theory. So it's just a lot of arguing about communication and you just have to have facts to argue. Mm-hmm. I mean, my upperclassmen like classes, my junior and senior year, I really enjoyed them. They were really interesting, but all it was arguing your point and like supporting it with facts or with scenarios or something like that. But there's really nothing in school that can prepare you to be a digital product manager or anything in the digital world, really. It's kind of like I said, I learned every day. You learn something from trial and error and you learn different softwares and then you kind of just like put them together. And I think that was the coolest thing is like opening up an app and being able to look at it and see it run and what it's spitting out and like understand what is actually going on. Like I could geek out about that all day, but that's just my interests. But
that sounds pretty cool. Now yeah. I'm interested, but I don't have a year to. Well, I guess I could, but
yeah, you did. If you started in March, you'd be well versed by now.
Seriously, I was a comm major,
okay.
And so kind of similar.
Yeah, it's a very broad major for sure.
And I think that's what I liked about it is that you can go in a lot of different directions as you did.
Yeah.
All right, so I've chatted your ear off. I think we've been here on almost an hour, but let's get to the present. Couple questions. First of all, how are you feeling in the water right now, especially with season 2 of ISL coming up? You've got a month plus in Budapest on the horizon. How are you feeling in the pool?
Pretty good. I mean, like we're putting in some pretty good practices. I mean, we're going full throttle in terms of weights and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, like I'm in my full routine. So I would say we're really still kind of putting in the work for a baseline. And then with all that racing, I'm really excited because I haven't raced in so long. I think that's going to be the last piece of the puzzle in my training is just getting up and racing. Because there's so many teams that are in the water. There's a lot that aren't. We're fortunate enough to be in the water and have options, which is really nice. So it's nice to be able to carry out our regular schedule. So I do feel really good. I feel very confident that we'll swim pretty fast.
Awesome. Good to hear. You recently launched your own website, nataliehinds.com. If you want to check out Natalie Hinds, see what she's all about, get some sweet merch. I'm currently waiting on my mustard crop. You said those are going to ship soon, so
They
no
are.
worries. Check it out, nataliehinds.com. Give me the rundown on this website and what you're hoping to accomplish with it.
Yeah, so I didn't really know I needed a website, but I got talked into it and now I'm all for it. Basically it's good to, if you want to know more about somebody, it's good to hear it from them and not from Google or whoever's on Wikipedia at the time. So I think it also just helps with being personable and being able to show people that you are an actual person. You're not just a swimmer people see at meets. Like, there are things that go on behind the scenes. There's more dimensions to you as a person. So that's kind of what the website is all about. I really want people to feel like they can go to it and leave the website and be like, wow, I really like what she's about. I really like her interests and what she wants to do with the sport. And so that's just kind of the idea around the site. Now, it may change, like in terms of, like with the shirts, for example, like mustard is my favorite color. So I was like, well, we have to have a mustard crop. If you want to support me, you got to support me with a mustard crop top, but I also will have black and white if you really want to.
Yeah.
But it's just like, yeah, it's just like trying to put my personal touch on things just so people can get to know me better, especially leading up again to trials and things like that, big stage type of things.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, with this website, with the stuff I've seen on your social media, it seems like you are kind of ramping up your voice and what impact you want to have in our sport, in our community. You are a Black woman in a predominantly white sport, and it's become, you've certainly, in this time of social justice reform in our country, it seems like you've really tried to make your voice heard, for the better and for positive. I know, I forget which one of your platforms it was, but you did make Black Lives Matter pins available for ordering. Is that correct?
Yeah, so that's on my Luminary website. But yeah, I just think this whole time has been a big juggle between keeping myself mentally sane, putting swimming at the forefront always, and also trying to figure out how I want to attack this whole thing. I definitely didn't want to be silent, but it's a learning experience for everyone, and I think that's what I put forth most. That's what I put most of my energy in, is educating people. Just today, I sent my coaches an article about titled "What It's Like to Be a Black Man in America," just so they can have something to read. And I do that sometimes, and so that they know that I'm always thinking about how we can all be more cohesive as a group, because I've always been the only Black person on deck, and I am currently at UGA. And the more that people know about the struggles of Black people and the injustice, the social injustice and racial injustice in our country, the quicker we can tie this up, because it's obviously been going on for like 400 years now. So yeah, I just try and educate. I don't want to become radical by any means. I want to remain, I want to push this forward because it is such a big deal. And I have gone through so many ranges of emotions trying to just like keep myself like at a zen. But yeah, I really take so much stock in just, you need to be educated before you can make any sort of judgment, opinion, anything like that. So that's my biggest thing.
And I just want to say, to me, I don't think it's radical to say Black people need equality.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, yeah, that's not radical at all.
But education first. I love that philosophy, and I think it's great. One platform you have been pushing in terms of education is the Equal Justice Initiative. That's EJI.org if you want to check that out. Tell me about give me your rundown on the Equal Justice Initiative, what it means to you, and why it is such a powerful tool.
Yeah, Equal Justice Initiative is a nonprofit organization. So they work to end social injustice, racial injustice for those who can't fight for themselves. So like people who are first-time offenders in terms of like drugs or some first-time misdemeanor or something like that, and they're getting 10 years in a level 5 prison, which for those people who don't know, level 5 is the most lockdown it can get. So those are the most dangerous prisons, and these people who are doing misdemeanor crimes are going into level 5 prisons, which is crazy to me. And they're dying in there because the way that they're being treated by the guards, because they're being killed by inmates. So EJI works to reduce sentences of those people. They also work to reduce sentences of people who have been wrongly convicted, who are innocent, minors who have been tried as adults and who are serving life sentences, just like all of the worst things that you can think of, this company or this organization is trying to fight. They also are a beacon of education. So they have numerous articles on whatever you can think of. They always have something new coming through on the website. And so I tell people who are like, hey, I have no idea about any of this, but I want to help, I want to learn. That's like where I would send them. So they're always doing something good. And I am so passionate about them because my sheltered mind had no idea that all this was going on until I went to visit. They're in this place called the Lynch Museum, which is in Montgomery, Alabama. And it's like this huge memorial. And I spent like 3 hours in there because I was just like, this is so crazy. Like I had no idea that this was going on. So that's why I'm so adamant about people. If you ever want to donate, if you ever want to learn something, that's the place to donate. That's the place to learn. There are also other places that do the same thing, but that's just the one that I most closely resonate with.
Yeah. I mean, a quick look on the Equal Justice Initiative's website. Their work includes criminal justice reform, racial justice, public education, just like Natalie was saying. Lots of resources, lots of educational tools, lots of articles.
Yeah.
If you're interested in educating yourself, interested in helping, check out eji.org. If you're interested in Natalie Hinds, check out nataliehinds.com for her story, her personal bio, her merchandise. Quick shout out to Luminary. Tell me about how you got into that.
Yeah, like last summer, I was looking for something to put on my walls, but I just didn't want to pay for it. So I was like in Hobby Lobby one day and I saw this kit and I was like, I could spend $12 and try this out. And it was so bad, Coleman. It was like, I didn't throw it away, but I definitely keep it just to see where I've come from. But
yeah.
Then I got really obsessed with the craft because it was something I wasn't good at. And so I wanted to get better at it. And it wasn't swimming. So I was able to do something away from the sport. So it wasn't like my main focus all the time. So I made a couple pieces and then time passed and then we went into quarantine and I was like, well, let me pick it up again. Cause as you know, swimming is like all time consuming. So I didn't have a chance to do it. And it kind of just took off. I mean, I was doing it every single day because I wasn't swimming. So I was like, no, I can do this. And every piece that I finished, I was like, okay, I'm going to change this. So then it kind of just blew up. And then I only launched the website in August. So it's kind of gone really quick. And I try to remember it's a hobby. And anytime I feel pressured to get orders out, I'm like, just chill. It's not your job. Like, swimming is your job. This is supposed to be relaxing for you, which it is. But yeah, that's kind of how it started and where it's kind of blown up to right now. Yeah, I love it. I think it's so cool that I'm literally learn something new every single time I make a new piece. And I've also expanded to I'm able to help the Black Lives Matter cause with Luminary, and I was able to make some tapestries and sell those and donate all the money to EJI. So those are things that like give me so much joy. And I'm glad that people can have some of my work because I can't travel. So I'm glad that like my pieces can travel like all over America. So that's kind of just where I'm at with it now. And now that I'm going to Budapest for 7 weeks, I'll have to shut my operation down, but I'll hopefully be back, which I'm kind of sad about. I'm like, God, could I bring some yarn and weave on the plane? I'm like, no, you can't. That's just too much to keep track of, so I'll have to just shut it down.
I was going to say, can you not? Is that, but.
Don't want to have to look. No, I just don't want to have to look after, because once I finish a piece, my brain starts working on the next piece. And so it wouldn't be cool for me to just be in Budapest with all the supplies and like, yeah, it's just too much.
Your roommate comes in and there's just yarn hanging from the walls.
Yeah, it's too much to explain. And it is something that's really cool because it's mine. It's unique to me. And it's a hobby that not necessarily writing or cooking or anything like that. Like I can literally just sit in silence and weave, and I can work out problems or things that I have been thinking about earlier. Like I can just think about those things and work through it while I weave. So it is kind of like my therapy. So I'll have to figure something out when I go to Budapest.
Well, you've got 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Cool. Natalie, I don't want to keep you too much longer. Do you have any parting thoughts before we sign out?
Other than I'm just looking forward to ISL. I'm looking forward to racing. And I just think it's really important. I know this has kind of helped me, but like with everything going on, there really seems like there's no end in sight, especially after Labor Day, and beaches are packed and you're like, oh my God, this is never going to end. But, some days are better than others, but I do think that waking up, having a task and executing on that task and just doing it task by task is really going to help on those days that are harder than others, when you don't see that there's an end in sight. And so that really helps me. And I also try and take 5 minutes every day that I wake up to meditate and be still and like calm. I use the Calm app, actually. I really love it. I think that also may help some people who are just like, oh my God, this is never going to end. Because I feel like that some days, more days than others. And so those two things really help me out. So hopefully that helps somebody else out too.
Well, Natalie, thank you so much for your time today, coming to talk to me.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Hopefully we'll talk soon, and good luck in Budapest.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.